What's up and welcome. This is Olympus Mons, the Above Limits podcast. If you are seeing me on BitChute, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can search the Above Limits podcast on YouTube. Today we're talking about of course, the coronavirus. That's what is in the news. That is what is happening in the world right now. And I've thought about the different scenarios that could be happening in the future. And one thing that I've thought of is that many of us, I say a majority of Americans, are very woke. And I'm going to use that word woke because we're very awake to the ideas of globalism and the plans of the elites to enslave us and to cause things like this. Like when Henry Kissinger said, "You can't waste any crisis." This is well known, and it's much more mainstream that we're all basically victims of this whole idea of that everything that's happening right now has been planned, and that this is, we've all known this was going to happen someday, and it's looking like the plan is being put into effect. Now, I say that too, and I have to repeat that we're victims of it, meaning that, yeah, we all know about it, but there's nothing that we can do. Whatever's going to happen, the outcome after it's all said and done, there's nothing that we can do as a people other than, rise up and, go after people. But that doesn't seem to be what's happening. So I kind of I've had a couple people tell me they've gone, have you ever heard of Alex Jones? And I'm like, well, of course I've heard of Alex Jones. I've been before he was kicked off of the 5 major social media platforms. He was actually the only place to get actual news and information that was legit. The rest of, like Fox News used to do that psychological warfare on people where they would just, they have the Fox News alert every 5 minutes, and then, they'd be using hypnotizing techniques in the way they displayed words and, highlighted, in big red, big red letters, things that they wanted you to notice, like to hypnotize you to stuff. And then you have MSNBC and CNN kind of, since Trump's took over, or Trump's came into the picture, they've kind of taken the playbook out of Fox News and, done the same type of hypnotic thing where they get people addicted to watching them, and they just, it feels good to agree with whatever their narrative they're pushing, and people go around and spread that information as if they came up with all that on their own, when they're just repeating what they heard on the TV, which isn't a smart idea. That's not thinking for yourself. But going back to Alex Jones, I start to notice things when in short periods of time, when things keep on repeating the same situation. So one asked me, like, have you ever heard of Alex Jones? And then maybe a couple of days later, somebody else tells me, have you ever heard of Alex Jones? I'm like, yeah, of course. I mean, I got onto this whole conspiracy thing with Zeitgeist. With this Zeitgeist, and if y'all don't know what zeitgeist is, it's kind of like it's for many people it was the first time they got introduced to the idea that the government is involved in these things that are happening, like 9/11. Like the government had knowledge of it, and they were involved in it somehow. So you know Alex Jones, right before the coronavirus, no, right before he was deplatformed, right? Alex Jones was going really hard at China. Like he was going really hard about the partnership that they had with Apple, and also other tech companies that were like helping them develop their facial recognition software. Also, the Dragonfly search engine that I believe either Google or Microsoft was working on, which is basically the search engine for the Chinese people, so they can tailor what is being fed to the public of China, and different things. The rest of the world is kind of firewalled. They don't have access to it. So it's the Chinese internet, the Chinese Google that's heavily censored. You know what I mean? Like these companies were in partnership with the Chinese government, basically to help with their police state, right? So Alex Jones was going so hard at China and Apple. And who was the first person to strike Alex Jones? Apple, the Apple Store. And they took him, and then with you can only tell that it was a partnership between the five tech giants that took Alex Jones off. That they were they were in a consensus together that they needed to take him off their platforms on the same day, at the same time, and they did, and which was a major blow to Alex Jones and to what we would call fringe media, or alternative media. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed into every piece of alternative media to be silenced in many different ways, demonetized, deplatforming, etc. So we have now, since that's happened, we have now a heavy influence when you watch YouTube, into when you want to see news, instead of getting the alternative news that is pretty accurate on how things are actually happening, you get you're bombarded by the mainstream media, the alphabet media. So that's one thing about Alex Jones, that in this whole situation, some people were saying, Alex Jones is a shill or something like that. I mean, I don't know, that you don't deplatform a shill. You don't try to silence a shill. And Alex Jones has been right for a long time. So, let's see here. I took some notes. Okay, so as far as the coronavirus, to me, it's looking. Everybody that knows things basically understands that this is what was developed in a lab, and either it was intentionally released, or that it was accidentally released. So if you don't, in my thoughts, I think that it could be one of two things, right? It could be that the psychological warfare is trying to teach everybody outside of China, the rest of the world minus China, to hate Chinese people. and the globalists, the Illuminati, the whoever you want to call them, they want everybody to hate China because that's somebody to hate. That's somebody to, they want death and destruction. So, I mean, if we go to war with China, with their trillions of people and they're forced to die fighting for their country, I mean, that could be very volatile situation. So there is a lot of talk about World War III. That this could lead to a war. When we talk about the partnership with the tech giants, and we see Bill Gates, which we'll talk about in a minute, they had a partnership with the Chinese, at least to build their police state. Maybe they have a partnership with China to enslave everybody by releasing a global threat. So this was actually done intentionally by the Chinese government to weaken, basically give a death blow, or like a fatal blow, where you're not dead but you're kind of like limping along until eventually you're so weak that somebody can come and finish you off, to the rest of the world, and for them to dominate. And that seems to be more of what I think, because I mean, they have been in partnership with these tech companies to create their police state. Why wouldn't it be logical that they could be in a partnership to basically take over the world? You know what I'm saying? And to be the catalyst to the goal that's been for the globalists to take over the world. So that's my my thought so far. One thing I would like to think about is, like, well, where's the alien technology? I don't think it exists, right? Wouldn't they be using it by now? But on that note, I think if you were going to use, if I think any use of alien technology comes with a catch. It's like to be able to use the alien technology, we have to go to the brave new world. The world will literally change. There will be the world as it is right now will not be the same as it will whenever we use alien technology to save everybody, because it probably has stipulations. It probably has to, you have to give power to some person that you don't. I mean, I don't know. You'd have to give power to some person that maybe they don't want to give that power to them. Meaning like what you would be the equivalent of the Antichrist, but maybe he's like the actual. I mean, if it has stipulations, that means it has a prophecy, right? That it has a story behind it of why this person or why these people are the chosen people to be in control of the new world after you release the alien technology. When we talk about alien technology, we're basically talking about like superhero shit, God shit, so one thing that's peculiar about this whole thing is the Event 201. If y'all don't know what Event 201 is basically here's a scenario, right? On 9/11, they were literally doing drills with NORAD. They were doing drills with NORAD that were basically the same scenario as what happened on 9/11. So basically the scenario for NORAD, in which NORAD has planes that protect the sky at all times, right? So they send the planes, these F-16s or F-15s, whatever, to patrol, right, the skies of the United States, and they could be anywhere within a matter of minutes. And they were drilling that same day of that there would be passenger planes that were hijacked by terrorists, and they were threatening to blow up buildings, to crash them into buildings, which was the same thing that happened on 9/11. So that was a drill that was actually happening, and the pilots were saying, is this a drill, or is this real life? And they were confused on how they were supposed to respond to it. So one thing about the Event 201 is that, okay, experts say that the coronavirus went from an animal, because they're saying it came from these markets in China, right? They're saying that it went from an animal to a human in November, right? So November of 2019, which was just 4 months ago, right? That's when it went from an animal to a human. Now, Event 201 was held in October, a month before. Now, Event 201 was a drill, basically doing this scenario that is playing out right now. And to me, Event 201 was either a thumbs up or a thumbs down on whether to do this in real life. You know, because all these, the people that were there were representatives of China, the World Bank, Bill Gates, and I believe Johnson & Johnson, the vaccine makers, right? So, and the World Health Organization, which is basically China, it's headed by China, you know, and basically they're going through this, what is happening right now. And like I said, it was either a thumbs up to go ahead and unleash some type of virus, or thumbs down to know what the outcome would be, to do the scenario, right? So that's what strikes me as weird, is that the experts say that it was went from animal to human in November, but some people think that it was infecting people before that, you know, and you know, one thing to say about that too is that, okay, Donald Trump and our experts at the CDC, right? They say they're doing Donald Trump says he's doing the best job ever, the best job anybody could have done to prevent an outbreak in the United States. He said it went from 1 person to 15 people to there would be 0 after the 15 to now, you know, like a couple thousand people dying or something like that, you know, and then the entire U.S. because of this virus. And, you know, they like, let's say the Event 201, that was like a drill, right? That's like all the things that could happen. So you would think that the CDC would know exactly what would happen in the beginning to you know, what's the worst case scenarios, you know what I mean? And we could tell that information exists because there's like a movie that was basically what's happening right now, Contagion. It's literally the same thing, social distancing, as in Contagion. You know, it's like there's a playbook of the scenarios, but yet they dropped the ball. They failed us. Honestly, they failed the United States. They failed everybody because they didn't take it serious, when all they could have done is the protocols that they should have done. You know, and we're paying a heavy price right now because our so-called experts didn't know there was asymptomatic people, or it could be not airborne, but from coughing and stuff like that, you can transmit it, which makes it very very contagious, right? So one would say, when you're dealing with safety and stuff like that, it's like asbestos abatement, right? Okay, if you don't know that it has asbestos in the material that you're abating, right? Removing and getting rid of. That's what abatement is. That you would assume that it does and take the precautions to stop it from harming somebody, right? Yet our experts that have plenty of information on what would happen, not only that, in October, Bill Gates, one of the smartest people supposedly in the whole world, funded this Event 201 where they played out a scenario which they could have easily gotten that information. Plus, they already knew that China was dealing with it, and they have, the intelligence agency, could at least see satellite images of what's going on in China, and whatever abilities they have to be able to spy in China to see what's going on in there. And yet we couldn't have any information in the United States of all the things that would possibly be happening in the future in the United States, or are present right now. Come on, man. So this is what has me worried. And people, let's say like there's people in the QAnon movement who think that Trump's going to save everybody. And that's one of Trump's worst things, one of the worst things that Trump, how Trump is that he wants to be the savior. He wants to be the one that saves the United States. And, he's trying to put forth this hydroxychloroquine and trying these different treatments, or to help the symptoms, so people don't die. They get over the sickness. But to me, it's like you're dealing with a biological weapon, right? That's what we need to start saying. We're dealing with a biological weapon. It's not going to work. It's meant to kill people. It's meant to fuck people up. But I totally agree with him. What do we have to lose? It's not going to hurt you if you take it, and if it makes you, if it treats you and you're able to get over the sickness, then that's a good thing, right? But sometimes you got to be realistic, and I just think this is one of those things where Trump's hubris is going to hurt him in the end, when he's not going to be able to say he already fucked up. He fucked up. He didn't lock down the country. He could have locked down the country. That's the type of leadership you need, as drastic measures. You see, they know what's happening in fucking China and in other countries where this is affecting. And they failed. They failed. My last topics on this is Trump's been talking about the price of oil, right? For some reason, because nobody's driving and nobody's taking planes and stuff, so that the price of oil has dropped. And because of Saudi Arabia decided to lower the price because there's nobody's using it. There's a surplus of gasoline and all this and oil, so they dropped the price. And Trump's like wanting to raise the price because he says that it's going to hurt the oil and gas industry. But I mean, we're all having to give up a little bit, and they should have to give up a little bit too. They make plenty of money, and they will make plenty of money once this is over with. Everybody will have to go drive their cars again. Everybody will have to go and fly in a plane again to get for business and leisure or whatever. So what are we doing? What are we talking about? We need to do whatever to raise the price of oil right now. Fuck the oil companies right now. We need to worry about people dying and people without jobs. You know, we need to get our troops back home. We need to not bail. We don't need to bail out the cruise ship industry, where they you know every so often we're hearing stories about how there's like E. coli outbreaks in there. And they're disgusting, and people end up hating going on that they went on their cruise ship. And lastly, where's the UN? How come I haven't heard anything from the UN? You know, they're supposed to be like the closest thing we have to a world governing body, and we don't hear nothing from them. But we got the World Health Organization. That's who we have, who's led by China. And I don't know why we're getting any type of medical equipment from China. I don't trust anything that's coming out of China. They're lying. They're killing people in their country, and we're getting medical supplies from them when they don't mind letting some people die for their cause. And that's global domination, where they could all these supplies that we're getting from China could be infected with a very much dangerous form of the virus that really wounds us. And why they have they might have the antidote to give to all their people and their soldiers or whoever they need to fight to attack their enemies. And while we're sick and people are robbing and stealing because they're hungry without food and money to feed their families, you know, we get attacked by the Chinese. Maybe it might lead to them taking over our country, and we have no way of defending ourselves because we're dealing with our problems over here. Because as we can see, there are certain situations where our government can't do shit for us, and they fuck up, as they're fucking up right now. And honestly, people don't know we don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. So this is the Above Limits podcast with Olympus Mons. If you're watching on BitChute, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And we'll see you next time, man.